Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series, and we move through the remainder of the year, the year of 1987. But we close out the month of February in the same year. February 28th, 1987 is this particular episode, and we see some returns. We see some very odd matchups, and we see some. Just really bizarre stuff in general. Uh, we see the return of Jeff Rams here this week, facing off against Matt Bourne. I don't know enough about Rams to really comment. I do know a lot about Bourne, and I don't understand why he's in opening matches here, especially with the benefit of the Percy Pringle dynasty being part of what he has done. We see some really good wrestling, just takedowns and the like by Bourne early, and then he is all about making Jeff look good here. But even something as simple as some really loose lockups between the two tells me that this particular fellow is either really new to wrestling or not very good at it. I don't know which is the case. But anyway, high cross body, and then we see some mat-based time, no pun intended. Bourne takes him down with a chin lock. Then we see Rams come up with a headlock takeover type maneuver with the walk up the ropes, that old spot. Then we do see Bourne get a bit of a power move, and he's able to take things back down his general direction. Fans are behind it, so that's a good sign. But it's just I look at experience levels in '87, and it is clear as day that they are not where they used to be. Anyway, a back suplex is the transitional spot that causes Bourne to take back over, but he only takes over for a minute. High leg drop from Rams, and Bourne does get a victory in rather quick order, in just under probably about 6 minutes or so, maybe 6.5, total bell to bell, and obviously Bourne not really in the tag team that he was, not really focusing on much of anything. Brooks and Killer Brooks and Jack Victory, the returning Jack Victory. Victory's gone off to another territory and returned against Red River Jack and Scott Casey. Obviously, Red River Jack, a major favorite because, well, he's Bruiser Brody. And, we kind of see Victory coming back. To me, would be really an interesting thing to go a little further with. Casey manages to roll up Victory 1-2. Victory's kind of got skunked out hair and an interesting look, to say the very least. He's trying to find his way. Actually like Victory a lot more in his first world-class run based on on this match. Killer Brooks and Casey pair off for a while. And then Victory comes back in, still taking amazing bumps. Something about the level and intensity that Victory gets thrown around here, where he was a bigger star, is a little disconcerting. Anyway, Red River Jack comes back in, big body slam on Victory, and then they double team good old Jack. A high knee strike, and then a vertical snap suplex by Steve Casey. Casey has some trouble getting Brooks over, but I actually like when I see things like suplexes where there's a struggle to get a guy over, because, well, it looks like an actual struggle, looks like a fight, and isn't that what wrestling is actually supposed to look like? Anyway, so we go to kind of the blind tag off. Victory back in the ring. Victory back in for not too terribly long a time. And we do see Casey firing back a good bit. He manages to take Victory back to his corner. The match kind of breaks down into a bit of a brawl. Referee loses some control over who the legal man is, I think. And then we see both the heels Irish whip together. Big boot by Red River Jack. 2 Jack victory, and Red River Jack kind of throws his own partner like a lawn dart onto Killer Brooks for the victory. Then we move to a Fantastics interview. Fantastics are back in world class. They want the tag team championships. That's basically all you need to know out of that interview. They're glad to be back. They call the fans their friends, and they are glad to be back in action. Anyway, we move quickly along to. There's actually a lot of matches on this program, all of them being relatively short. We move on to Al Madril versus Steve Dahl. Now, Steve Dahl, again, an enhancement talent, good looking young kid who later finds kind of a home in the southern Tennessee, that whole area of promotions. Does very well. Does have a bit of a cup of coffee in the mid 90s in the WWF, but, more Tennessee style wrestler. Dahl with a beautiful dropkick early, hits 2 of them, and Madril bails to the outside. Then we kind of see Madril come back in complaining of a hair pull. How you pull a hair on a drop kick, I do not know. And then he says, "Hey, let's call it even, call it square. We'll shake hands." Dahl not having much of this, not really interested in any of that. And then obviously that is an offer that was not a good idea to take anyway. Madril breaks the match down into kind of a brawlish sort of thing. Anyway, snap over the ropes from the outside in. Dahl does fight back. Interesting to me that a guy who hasn't really done much in the area is being given a competitive match with a guy who, up at least until a few weeks ago, was tag team champion in the area. That's one thing I've never understood about World Class. I think it's because they have a smaller locker room, but when they bring a guy in, he gets a lot of attention really quickly. Abdominal stretch by Madril. Tries to get the submission victory, doesn't get the submission. Madril then manages to get a attempted victory, and doesn't get everything he wants, but does get a victory in the end. Anyway, we move to Dusty Wolf and the Grappler versus the Fantastics. The returning Fantastics, good for the area as far as tag teams are concerned, although I'm really not sure who they're going to face in consistent tag team work, as things again have dropped off. Maybe the Rock and Roll RPMs of Davis and Lane are the main combatants for the Fantastics, Rogers and Fulton. But anyhow, the Fantastics back, and that is, good for the tag division overall. Dusty Wolf, a guy who is criminally underrated, an enhancement talent who's been all over the world, but a guy that I've always enjoyed. There is and I'm sure I'm going to get there. If it's available online, I'll get there someday. But there is a Jake Roberts Dusty Wolf match. It might have been going by Dale Wolf at the point because Dusty Rhodes, I think, was there at the time. And Wolf takes a diving leap off the apron for Jake Roberts' short clothesline. And I have never forgotten that spot. Probably seen it twice, 3 times in my life, but it's etched in my brain. It's that good. Anyway, Fantastics, speaking of good, go to work on the Grappler, and sledgehammer type move from Tommy Rogers from the top rope. He hits some good shots on Dusty Wolf. Fantastics with good double team maneuvers. Fantastics bring their adversaries down, work over the arm of Dusty Wolf for the next several minutes, and they always are keeping things in good motion here. We finally do see a tag off, and the heels do cut the ring off from the opponents, and there are shots that there are shots that the grappler takes, and a cross, um, you know, ultimately a hot shot by the grappler is attempted. Wolf comes back in, tries to slow things down with a front face lock, doesn't get what he wants out of that maneuver, gets enough, but not everything he wants out of it. Hot tag to Tommy Rogers, and the Fantastics pick up a win off of the effort of Rogers. Then we move to, I guess, what you consider the semi-main event: Brian Diaz and Mike Von Erich. What does it tell you when Mike Von Erich is in a semi-main event somewhere? Anyway, Diaz and he have had their issues. Obviously, Diaz has had issues with the entire Von Erich family. There's talk that the re-break of Kerry's injured leg happened at the hands of Diaz. And so there's anger there. Match is short because there's another full match to go. And basically, Mike Von Erich comes in, hits a drop kick, knocks Gary Hart off, rolls him up 1, 2, 3, and I mean less than a minute, the whole match. Then we move to the main event, or the final match of the evening: Bob Bradley and Steve Simpson. Again, I mean, imagine these guys in main event positions. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it's a sign of the dying days of world class. I mean, imagine that it takes 3 years to die, but it's here, it's beginning, and I think promoters don't fight for the long haul. Maybe in the 80s they did, but there were, once the WWF monopoly took over, I think that it was harder to get talent that was ready to be on television. Anyway, obviously Simpson goes for the arm bars and the like early. There is a Bob Bradley backflip. Try saying that 3 times fast. That's kind of cool to look at for the time and in space. Full Nelson by Simpson. Simpson with a body scissors turns into a pinning combination for a minute. Goes back to the body scissors, holds it for a bit. Bradley tries to bring him back up, boxes the ears, and goes for some basic shots. But needless to say, with less than 2 minutes left in the program, we see Steve Simpson off the ropes, get a leapfrog and then a sunset flip, 1, 2, 3, and gets a victory. That will close out the month of February here in World Class, and we'll be back with more right after this.